Well, it's one of those weeks. You're all used to them by now, or at least you should be. Wendell is, he's dealing with some stuff in his life this week. You should all comment F in the comment section to pay respects to what Wendell is dealing with. I mean, I'm not going to go into it because it's his private life, but he's having a tough time. I'd pour some out for him. There's a nice rug under me. I don't want to ruin it. Krista is apparently going to another wedding. Honestly, at this point, I don't know that I believe the weddings are actually happening. This is like the 6th one. I think she's probably in her basement with Lord of the Rings action figures and delivery drivers that she's chloroformed, and she's reenacting weddings from the Silmarillion at this point, you know. And if the Jimmy John's driver gets one of his lines wrong, she cuts him with an X-Acto knife. But be that as it may, they're not here, so I'm half a bottle of Santa Margarita Pinot Grigio Deep. I went with a white wine this week. I thought that paired better with this news, you know. Plus, it's a white wine. I'm drinking it straight from the bottle because I'm a straight white male, the most dangerous thing in the universe. Remember that. So drink along if you've got it. Let's talk about some government and security news. Now, there's a new trend in the news that I've been experimenting with, which is front-loading the good news. I'm going to follow that trend this week. And we'll start out with Feds expanding security researchers' ability to hack without going to jail. Now, this relates to the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. The Digital Millennium Copyright Act actually prevents people from figuring out security problems with copyright material. Because in the act of breaking the security, you're breaking a law. That's a little bit of a problem. So the government has actually taken some steps to open that up. Just a little bit. Just a tiny, tiny hole that they've opened up to let security researchers get in there, find the problems, report them to the rest of us, and not be sued into oblivion or go to jail. Now, it's not what we need, but it's a step in the right direction, and it is a rare step in the right direction. Very rare that they give a freedom back. So, good on them. I'm going to take the rarest of all drinks, the pro-government drink. Not really. Let me tell you, I like the white wine a lot better. I complain about wine, even though it is my favorite alcohol. I don't like alcohol very much. This tastes, imagine that you got a Sprite or a 7-Up, and you drank half of it. And then you took that half-filled bottle of Sprite and some of your saliva, and you put it in the trunk of your car, and you left it for an entire summer. And at the end of the summer, you popped it out and you drank it. That's what this tastes like. Huge improvement over the red, let me tell you. So I'm enjoying this a lot more today. Another thing that I'm enjoying is the bill that Senator Ron Wyden has introduced that would send CEOs to jail for violating consumer privacy. How's this for a headline? Imagine this in your future. Mark Zuckerberg doing 2 to 10 in Sing Sing. I don't know if Sing Sing's still in prison, but how great would that be? Equifax, you know, all these people that you want to see go to jail, nothing happens to them. Senator Wyden says, let's put this through. Consumer Data Protection Act. Now, I'm going to take a drink, and this is going to be, I'm going to call this the pipe dream drink, because this is never going to pass. Never in a million years. The entire tech industry, all the big media companies, everybody will fight against this, and they will win. But whatever. You know, you take a shot. Can't hurt anything, right? And in a follow-up to last week, now we reported that Tesla, in addition to the funding secured tweet, some serious people, were also looking into Mr. Musk's tweets about production. And they weren't quite convinced that the numbers he was tweeting were accurate. And that would be a problem as it is a publicly traded company, and he was causing trades based on his tweets. A lot of really helpful Tesla sycophants pointed out in the comments last week, that's not true, that's a rumor, he denied it. Yeah, he did deny it, but the regulatory filing that Tesla just filed confirmed it. That's weird. It's almost like they say one thing to the public where they know they can't be held accountable, and another thing to the regulatory agencies. So it turns out they are looking into that, and we'll see what happens. Honestly, I don't think anything's going to happen. I think Tesla has weathered the storm, you know? I mean, I'm not anti-Tesla. I just don't like to buy into their bullshit completely. But I think Tesla's good. I think they've done it. You know, they've started turning a profit. Unless they really cook those books magically that last quarter, I think they might have... They'll have a good run until everybody else starts making electric cars. But by that time, maybe they'll be established. Who knows? I'm not giving trading advice. I'll tell you that. Let me just give you that disclaimer right now, because I don't want the SEC looking into me, because we have such a large audience. Well, the FCC. We always have to talk about the FCC. They're in the news every week because everybody loves them. And this week they're saying we need a national mission to fix the rural broadband. Now let me tell you, I'm in the process of closing on a house. And it took me more than a year to find a home that I liked that was decently secluded, because I don't like other people. I want to be kind of by myself. But did have cable internet, you know, the best that we can get around here at least, which is not incredible. And it took a long time to find that. I'm in the process of trying to get them to fix the things that are wrong with it. There are wasps in the fireplace. You don't want wasps in your fireplace, let me tell you. I'll take a drink. This is a wasps in the fireplace drink. Oh, that expired Sprite flavor is amazing. So this is a Jeep pie, and Jessica Rosenworcel, which I love that name. That's a fantastic name, Rosenworcel. They are partisan. That's a Democrat and a Republican. Not respectively. Pie is the Republican, Rosenworcel is the Democrat. But they've set aside their differences and they've come to the agreement, we need a national mission to fix the broadband. The wireless map is wrong. The rural people, they just don't have connectivity, and there's something we need to do something about it. And they liken it to the 1930s when we rolled out electricity to everybody. Everybody got electricity. They're saying we need a national movement to do that. So it shows that the FCC is really committed to getting rural broadband. And that's good to see. They would never do anything to work against rural areas getting broadband. Oh, what's this headline? FCC falsely claims that community broadband is an ominous threat to the First Amendment. I'm feeling it. I pre-gamed quite a bit today because I feel like you guys enjoy it more the deeper I go. So I figured, why waste time? Why don't I just go get like half a bottle deep before we start, and then finish it off like at the beginning of the third episode, so I could just coast. So yeah, the FCC came out and they talked. You know, there's a lot of these community broadband initiatives where they're like, the FCC has failed us, the industry has failed us. We're going to make our own broadband, and it's going to be great. And it usually is. People usually tend to like it, and it's usually some of the highest rated broadband that there is. They have great speeds, they have great prices. But the FCC thing, it's a threat to the First Amendment because these local communities might censor speech. As if the big tech companies aren't already censoring speech. I mean, come on. They're doing a lot of that. So it kind of makes that last story ring a little hollow, considering that could be a great answer. Community broadband could be a great answer to the missing rural service. Wouldn't cost the big providers a dime, except lost opportunity dollars, which they want. They want it all. Well, you know what? It's a bad situation in the FCC, but damn it, we're the best country in the world, right? We're number one. And when it comes to freedom, we're unparalleled. Oh, except we're not. In the freedom rankings, internet freedom that is, we've lost a point. We've gone from 22 to 21. Now, that's not 22nd place. That is an overall score. Our overall score has declined a point. And we are in the top 10, but we're not number 1. And you'd think, land of the free, home of the brave, might be number 1. No, not. Estonia and Iceland got us beat. And listen, if Iceland has beaten you in any metric, it's time to rethink it, man. Iceland? Jesus. But we are well ahead of one nation, and that's China. And we are having our problems with China, I'll tell you. And it's not just about internet freedom. It's about stealing secrets. Oh, press the wrong button. Oh, look at that. China, well, the U.S. has accused China and Taiwan, which is not the same thing, even though China will tell you that it is, for stealing secrets from Micron. Very serious. So this stems from the fact that we fabricate all of our stuff in China. Well, you send over the plans to get it fabricated, and they might lift those designs and use them for their own. Let's take a drink for Chinese pragmatism. I mean, it's a little underhanded, but come on, you don't expect that? Come on. The U.S. is pissed about it, and they're upset, and they're so upset that they're actually going to ban exports to the Chinese DRAM maker that they accuse of stealing these secrets. Now, let's see, what's the name of it down here? Let me scroll on down. It's like, here we go. The Fujian Jinhua Integrated Circuit Company, or FIJIC, if you want to make an acronym out of that. And FIJIC is accused of taking these secrets, making their own DRAM, and we are not having it. So no more exporting to that company. And this is just more escalation in the old Chinese trade war. Now, we could probably fix this by, creating some fabrication in the U.S., but that's too expensive. So we're not going to do that. They're just going to keep stealing our stuff. Now, they steal our DRAM. That's one thing. DRAM, it's pretty bad. We need that. But I'll tell you what, I draw the line in the sand. If you ask me, as a citizen, where's the line? Is it DRAM? No, it's not DRAM. It's aerospace components. Jesus Christ, we need our aerospace components, and they're stealing them just the way that they're stealing our DRAM. And we have indicted Chinese hacker-spies. Chinese hacker-spies. In conspiracy for stealing aerospace secrets. Now, this is not a stock photo. Well, it is, but this is a turbofan. A turbine-driven fan engine. Pretty cool technology. And this guy right here, that's what they're stealing. They're stealing our secrets. They want to make cool turbofans. We just can't let it happen. I don't know what we're going to do about it, but we can't let it happen. So, turns out there was some, Chinese nationals working for various companies in the U.S., and I think there were some in Europe as well. They were installing viruses. They were copying stuff to USB drives. They were doing some shady stuff. And they're going away for a little while, or a long while, actually, is what they're. I'm going to drink to the imprisonment of Chinese hacker-spies. Well, one of the 2018, now that we're nearing the end of it, we're coming into the holiday season, and what has been the main idea of 2018? You could say immigration, and you could say gender. Gender has been a hot topic in 2018. The Trump administration has recently come out and sort of said that they're going to introduce limitations saying that there are two genders. And whatever you were born with, that's what you are. Which, weird that, they make a rule for that because, in all of recorded history, that's how it's been. But now we need a rule. And so Amazon and Apple and Facebook and a bunch of companies, let's just scroll down. Let's just look through this list. It is a huge list. Look at this. Apple, American Airlines, Amazon, Airbnb, Adobe, Citi, Google, Facebook, Intel. Look, everybody, Pepsi, not Pepsi. Everybody that's anybody has signed off and said, we don't agree, Mr. Trump. We don't agree that there are two genders and biology determines that. Which all the big tech companies are in on this, which is interesting because, you know, ones and zeros, tech companies should understand ones and zeros, right? But they don't. They think it's like something else. Who am I to say? I'm not a gender expert. I'm just a white male drinking straight from the bottle, which makes me, once again, the most dangerous thing in the universe. And the most ignorant, too. And the most oppressive. So I don't actually get a vote. Take a drink if you don't get a vote. Remember Vault 7? No, I'm not talking about Fallout. I'm talking about the data leak that was the CIA's treasure trove of hacks and classified data. Well, Joshua Shoot was the man behind that, or so they claim. They've locked him up. But, unfortunately, locking him up did not silence him. He was able to get a hold of a mobile phone, or 6, and continued to leak data from his incarceration. They've discovered it. They're not happy about it. They're charging him with more crimes. Now, he claims that he's being tortured in prison or jail or wherever he is. And he was leaking things about his case and saying that, you know, they were sort of not following the rule of law with his prosecution and his incarceration. But they're saying that in doing so, he's going to get additional charges. So he's going to have a bad time, I bet. Moving over to, I always put foreign news. You ever notice, like, I'll do all the U.S. stuff first, then I'll put the foreign news, because it's not as important. But talking about the UK, they've announced a digital service tax on tech giants. Now, I believe this is if you have $1 billion in revenue or 50 million users. That's going to be 2%. But if you're making $1 billion, 2% of that is a non-trivial number. So they're looking to take that. UK is just on a warpath against big data and big tech. And they want their ounce of flesh. And they're going to get it. They can afford to pay it. Well, this article confused me at first because I read it and I was like, why is the Nintendo Switch tracking the citizens? It doesn't make any sense. Why would they do it? Then I realized that NSW stands for New South Wales, which is not the Nintendo Switch. It's much less exciting. But here's the thing. They're tracking their citizens. They got this camera system in place, and they're going to start using it. So if you're just, you know, you're running around chilling in New South Wales, camera sees you, it's going to search a passport database and an ID card. I don't know. I guess they got driver licenses or whatever voodoo they do over there for their bureaucracy. But then there's going to be another layer which searches for crimes, right? Like, so if it sees you, it's going to try to figure out if you're a criminal, if you got any open warrants or stuff like that. Now, a lot of people say that this is evil and Orwellian, and they're right. It very much is. But the government has assured them, it's like, oh, don't worry, listen, it's fine. We're only going to take action if that crime would result in 3 years or more in prison. So if you have like some open jaywalking tickets, the SWAT team will not be dispatched. So you can rest easy. It's all good. Everything's good. I'm slowing down a little bit because I'm about to finish this bottle. I didn't pace myself in this, but I'm going to take a drink for citizens buying. I'll take small drinks. Well, Iran and China recently made a discovery that the CIA had some spies You know, we talk about the Chinese spying. We talk a lot about that. And it's like, how dare the Chinese spy? Who do they think they are? Well, it turns out we spy too. Everybody spies. But the Chinese and the Iranians magically found out the identity of a bunch of our spies in their countries. And they killed them, which is what you do. You know, you ever play a grand strategy game when a spy gets caught, they pretty much just put them down. But how did they do this? How did they find them? Well, we finally learned they used Google. They used Google to do it. So they had a double agent. Those double agents, man. It's funny because, like, you know, all the fiction and stuff about espionage and double agents, and you're like, oh man, that's far-fetched. It's not. This shit's really going down. So they had a double agent who they gave, one of the ways that they gave untrusted people to drop data back to them were these websites. So they would simply visit a website and they would use URL parameters or something like that to drop information back to the CIA without being detected. Well, the Iranians got that double agent to give them the information, and they simply searched for similar URL parameters on other websites, and they found every drop point for all of the CIA agents. And in doing so, they were able to find the CIA agents. And then they killed them. So, oops. Maybe not the best system, CIA. Maybe time to rethink that. Well, that's it for government news. Let's take a small drink for government news being wrapped up. We're more than halfway home on this one, ladies and gentlemen, and far more than halfway through the bottle. Just a quick sip. Santa Margarita. I'm telling you, I'm enjoying the Santa Margarita. I could get wasted on Santa Margarita on a much more regular basis than I could the red stuff. Live and learn. So let's move on to security news. Intel CPUs fall to new hyperthreading exploit that pilfers crypto keys. This has a great name. It's called PortSmash. How great is PortSmash? So I tried to use PortSmash in a pickup line this weekend. I was like, hey girl, do you have 2 logical cores? Because I'd like to PortSmash. And she was like, listen, it's $100 and I don't do freaky shit. So I don't think she got the joke. Yeah, stupid normies. But PortSmash is all about hyperthreading. So hyperthreading, if you're not hip to that, that's when you got 2 logical cores on a single physical core. And it's more efficient. You got that hyperthreading. It's great. But these researchers were able to compile this program. And based on the timing that their program was able to perform functions, it's like, how long is this taking? They were able to pull the keys, the cryptographic keys, from the other logical CPU because they're on the same physical die. Now, this is not the same as Spectre and Meltdown, but it's similar. And you're probably not affected because you have to be in the system to be able to do this. They were able to do it over SSH, I think, or SSL. And you got to get in there. You got to compile the software. It's not, you can't do it with like JavaScript or something. So visiting websites is probably not going to do anything. But cloud services, you know, like Amazon, AWS, this is a real problem because if you're sharing a logical core with someone else and you have that access, you could pull the key from this. So similar to Spectre and Meltdown, you really just have to change the timing to defeat it. So there probably will be a fix, but just another. Also, this affects KB Lake and I think Cannon Lake, or at least that's what they've tested so far. Sky Lake and KB Lake. So that's what they've tested, but they assume that AMD's got the SMT, which is, you know, hyperthreading is an Intel thing, but AMD's got SMT. They assume it would work the same if they did just change this a little bit. But they attacked Intel because, you know, it's more hip to attack Intel. So yeah, if you're on the cloud, keep that in mind. And if you're not on the cloud, don't worry about it. Google. Now, for a while, it's like you read all this news every week. And it was before we ever started doing the news, but it's like JavaScript is fucking terrible, man. I mean, you don't want JavaScript. It is the ultimate security risk, but the entire web runs on it. So I was running NoScript for a while. I've gotten to the point now where my main browser is NoScript, but my secondary browser, I fall back to it constantly because most websites just will not work without JavaScript, which is unfortunate. And you can add one to the list, and that's Google. Google won't even let you sign in without JavaScript anymore. So they got these new security features. They're trying to prove that you're you and you're not trying to hack somebody's account, and it all uses JavaScript. So yeah, if you're going to go in there, roll in there with a NoScript, you're going to see this message. Harsh. Which is funny because they say it's a security thing, but if you're really serious about security and you're blocking JavaScript, you can't even use Google. Kind of a catch-22. And maybe eclipsed by the PortSmash, and with not as cool a name, is Bleedingbit, a zero-day chip flaw. Now, this one doesn't affect CPUs or, desktop CPUs. This affects Bluetooth chips that are used. The biggest customer would be Cisco. And this is two flaws, one of which allows the firmware to be overwritten without confirming that it is a good firmware. Sort of a firmware update backdoor that they left in there. Not a good thing. And the other one is a different kind of exploit. I've actually forgotten what the other exploit was. I've been drinking. So we're going to take forgot what the other exploit was drink. But you got the one tab link. You can go read about it yourself. The problem here is if you're running Cisco, you should check this out because I'm sure they'll patch it, but it's real bad. It's remote execution. So not good at all. I think it was a buffer overflow. They could, it was like a network discovery. You could send them a network discovery packet and then overflow the buffer and get into the memory and execute code. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Well, we talked about Iran murdering our spies. And to prove that we are attacking, well, not we, but we as in the Western coalition, is attacking Iran just as much as they're attacking us in the spy game, Iran has reported a new computer virus more violent than Stuxnet. Now, if you don't know about Stuxnet, this was a industrial control module microcontroller virus. And what it would do is it would report nominal readings back to anybody who was inspecting. It's like, oh, how are the nuclear centrifuges doing today? Oh, they're doing fine. But in reality, they're not doing fine. They're close to we're going into meltdown. So this is a new version of that, more aggressive and harder to find, according to the Iranians. The Israeli government will not confirm or deny their involvement in this, but seems like maybe they're involved. Iran's not allowed to have a nuclear program. Why? Because they're evil. And it doesn't really make sense to me because our government's pretty evil. We get to have one, but they're not. So that's just the way it is, Iran doesn't get nukes, and there are 26 genders. That's the world we live in. Don't question it. Let's take a don't question it drink. Smooth. Oh, you know what? I screwed around and left 2 PortSmash stories in here. What was I thinking? Let's just revisit the idea of the PortSmash. Don't get your PortSmash. That's the lesson of the day. And finally, I always like to, if you don't, so you notice like you start with good news. You always want to end. This is a pro tip. If you want to do like a news YouTube show like this, you want to end on something that's kind of titillating, People will be like, oh, that's a little risque, right? So if you can talk about porn as the last story, you'd want to. And this is about a civil servant who watched porn at work and infected U.S. government network with malware. Now, this was like a weather station or a geological station or something like that. USGS, U.S. Geological Survey. This guy had apparently been warned before about looking at the porn at work. And you know what he said to that? I don't care. I'm doing it anyway, bro. I need porn. And he got infected. His laptop was infected with malware, a government-issued laptop. His Android phone, malware. USB devices that he used to save the porn and take home, malware. He infected the whole network. I am often surprised at how easy people don't know where to get porn without malware. You know, you think if you were that into it, you would learn. But I think the problem is with this situation, it's similar to how when you do abstinence-based sex education in schools, a lot more teenage girls get pregnant because it's stupid. It's not realistic. Teenage people are not going to stop having sex because you tell them it's bad. It's an overwhelming biological urge. You know, you're not going to convince them not to. But if you give them like real world training in how to have safe sex and stuff like that, it's much more effective. I think the way we need to go, if you're the U.S. government, you know, you're not just like, no looking at porn at work. Instead, you have workshops on how to look at porn safely at work. So, probably not going to happen, but if I were the one dealing with this, that's what I would do to fix this issue, the whole malware issue. And that's our last story, right at 30 minutes, which, with me doing this by myself, listen, that's the best you're going to get. And I want to dedicate this week's news to the humorless assholes who have already posted, who are like, asinine and childish to drink and do stupid. I don't watch it if Wendell's not here. That's the people that this news is dedicated to. So, tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be talking about business and social media. A lot of social media stories this week. So yeah, I'll probably go ahead and power through the rest of this bottle, and then we'll just coast through Friday. See you then. We're back with business news and social media news and Santa Margarita Pinot Grigio 2017. Another, not aged very long, but crisp and refreshing. This week, our business news, I didn't even notice it until I was just laying out the stories. It is almost all about Apple. So, I don't know. If you don't like Apple, tune out. Don't really, though, because we need the watch time. We desperately need YouTube engagement. But the first story let's talk about is Threadripper. AMD has released the second wave of Threadripper CPUs, the 2920X and the 2970WX. So this is, they're trickling out the Threadripper releases, and these two just in time for the holiday season. Hot Hardware has some benchmarks for them. And basically, to put it in a nutshell, the 2920 seems like a really amazing value. You know, like it's not exactly a budget CPU, but compared to the rest of the field, it's certainly budget and performs really well, and actually does really well at single-threaded performance, which, you know, is not something that Threadripper is necessarily known for. The 2970, it suffers a little bit when it comes to some of the limitations, especially if you're using Windows, because of, you know, the way that it works in Windows. The Hot Hardware speculates that this will be fixed, and in fact, AMD is offering some optimization software for these CPUs already that you can sort of tweak it. But if you're one of these people who doesn't want to mess with the CPU and just wants to, you know, turn it on and let it work, maybe not the greatest thing for you. But the 2970 in multi-threaded applications, things like, like really multi-threaded things like ray tracing, It really shines when you consider the price point is way lower, as much as $1,000 lower than the Intel competitor. So if you're looking for a Threadripper build, you're on a bit of a budget, something you might want to look out for. Google. We talked yesterday about Google and the coalition of companies, of which Google was one of them, who, let's take a drink just for no reason, right? Who were decrying Trump's gender definition of two genders. They don't agree with it. They don't like it. And they are white knights in the gender war. But wait, Google's employees have staged a walkout over sexual harassment. But what? How could these paragons of gender and equality ever be judged by their employees? Well, if you watched last week's Level1 news, you'll remember that I don't remember the guy's name, one of the guys who invented Android, or at least was very instrumental in the invention of Android, might have coerced a coworker into a hotel room BJ. Maybe a little bit against her will. Some other stuff, I read some other stuff about that, where he was apparently, he had sort of like slaves. They weren't really slaves. He was paying them hundreds of thousands of dollars because he's mega rich. But in exchange for hundreds of thousands of dollars, they acted as his slaves, which that's not legal, especially sex slaves. Sex slaves are not legal. I've looked into it. They're not at all. Under no circumstances is that legal. So let's take a solidarity drink with all the sex slaves out there. In response to this story, thousands of people, or in some cases dozens, it didn't catch on in some places, walked out of Google, and they're demanding a series of things. I believe there was a bullet point list of demands. Let me see if I can find it. Nope. Here we go. Oh, that is a small font. An end to forced arbitration. Okay, yeah, because if you get harassed at Google, then you go into arbitration at Google rather than like a lawsuit. Commitments and pay and opportunity and inequity. Publicly disclosed sexual harassment transparency report. Yes, they didn't tell anybody about this hotel room BJ for a long time until now. This happened in like 2015, 2013, something like that. Clear, uniform, globally inclusive process for reporting, blah, blah, blah. You can read it if you're interested in it. Anyway, they made some demands and no one cares. But they walked out. So now on to the mega block. Let's take a drink for the Apple mega news block. Even though this drink is based on grapes. Weird, right? Apple has warned that holiday sales might not be as hot as some people would expect. Not good. The $1 trillion valuation that they famously surpassed, as well as Amazon, well, they've fallen below it. Apple is no longer a $1 trillion company. They'll bounce back, don't worry. But they launched the iPhone XS and whatever all the other iPhone models they launched this year a little bit early. And so they're saying, well, we might have acted too quickly. We might have been a bit premature in our ejaculation of the new iPhones. And so it's going to hurt holiday sales. It could be that people are just losing interest in the whole Apple deal. And they also, there's two stories that need to go together here, but I think I got them mixed up. Maybe I just didn't. In fact, I've closed the tab. I'm falling apart. Another thing that they announced, along with this bad news, is how they always tell us how many iPhones and iPads and Macs they sell, and we use those numbers to determine how well they're doing? They're not going to do that anymore. That's weird. Why would you stop doing that? Maybe because you're not selling as many as you used to? They say no. They say it's because it doesn't matter anymore because they're branching out, man, and they're doing like Apple Music and a variety of other things. And it's not all about the iPhone sales. Don't dwell on the iPhone sales, is what they're saying. I, for one, am going to dwell on the iPhone sales. I think that matters. Perhaps more disturbing than lower sales is some slavery. Well, maybe not slavery, but illegal student labor. That's a nicer way to put it, right? So it turns out that Apple might have had some interns working on the Apple Watch, I think. Yeah, the Apple Watch. And so here's the thing about interns. They're not supposed to be working in manufacturing. And they're not supposed to work overtime. But guess what? The accusation is that these interns were doing both of those things. They were working 12-hour days and 6-day weeks. That's not allowed. So someone's looking into that. And I bet you that Apple will pay a serious fine. Not really. They'll pay a small fine. Apple and Qualcomm do not get along. They never have. They probably never will. Let's take a drink for acrimony between Apple and Qualcomm. Should it ever come to an end, I suspect the apocalypse will shortly follow. But Qualcomm once again is speaking out. They're saying Apple is late on their alimony payments to the tune of $7 billion American dollars. That's a lot. I don't know how you understand money, but my understanding of money, $7 billion is a lot of dollars. You could buy a lot of popcorn with $7 billion. And that's how I measure amounts of money. It's like, how much popcorn could I get with that? And it's a lot. Well, holiday season's coming up. You're going to go and see your family. One of the things that you might do to celebrate Thanksgiving and Christmas or, whatever godless holidays you celebrate in your country, you might get some helium balloons and, do the funny voice thing. That's something, we like to finish the turkey dinner. We sit around in the living room and we pass around the helium balloon in my family. That's something we do. Be careful of family members who have iPhones because helium can disable them. A tragic thing that a hospital found out when they were installing an MRI machine and accidentally leaked helium all through the floor of the hospital. It turns out that it is in the iPhone fine print, and the Apple Watch, not just the iPhone, also the Apple Watch. These devices do not work in the presence of certain gases, helium being one of them. So the reason behind this is because Apple has eschewed the use of quartz timing. They are not using quartz to keep time. If you know anything about processors, timing critically important to a processor. You gotta know perfect timing if you're gonna do computing. And helium gets into an iPhone, it's over, Johnny. Can't keep time, freezes right up. So this guy was working in the hospital. He was an IT guy, and everybody was like, "Oh, my shit's not working." He did his own experiment, blasted some helium down into a Ziploc bag, put his iPhone in there, reproduced the results, and Apple confirms. Can't do it. Can't use your iPhone in a helium environment. I don't know what this means for the world, but it's not good. And that's not the only problem that Apple Watches have had this week. In fact, it's a small problem compared to a terrible update glitch. The Apple Watches have received an update that has locked them completely and left them sitting there with an Apple logo, completely non-functional. And if you're the kind of hardworking professional who uses your Apple Watch, you don't have the time or the patience for your Apple Watch to be down for even an hour. You have productivity to do. You have emails to answer. You got to hop on a call. You got to have like 12 meetings. Because I guarantee you, if you're the kind of person who wears an Apple Watch, you are not one of the productive people in your company. You're hopping on calls. That's what you do. Let's take a hop on a call drink. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, I'm an Apple Watch person. I'll just go down to the Genius Bar because I love going to the Genius Bar. It's one of my favorite things to do. It makes me feel better than everybody else. Well, hold on there, cowboy. The Genius Bar can't help you. They're powerless. This glitch is so bad, you're looking at a two-week return time after you send your watch back to Apple. A colossal failure. Unacceptable. But that's what you get for being an Apple normie. And it's much, much less than you deserve. So think about that. Think long and hard about it. Here's maybe some good news. Maybe some capitulation on the behest of the giant fruit. Apple is going to launch vintage repair. Oh, vintage repair. What does that mean? Well, Apple has this policy. After 5 to 7 years, your device is considered vintage. What does that mean? It means they won't even think about fixing it. You take it to the Genius Bar, they will just literally throw it out the window and give you the finger. That's Apple policy. If you walk in there, so what they'll do, they'll be like, oh, let me take a look at this. And then one of the other Genius Bar people will sneak around behind you and get on their hands and knees. And then they'll push you so you fall over. And the classic gag. That's what they do if you bring in one of these old devices. No more. They're only doing this in the US and Turkey, I think, which is weird. But you can see here, iPhone 5, MacBook Air 11-inch and 13-inch, and the iMac. Oh, it's the iMac that's in Turkey only. I'm sorry. So worldwide, you can get the other ones. But that's the list of items that they will consider. It's vintage, but we'll fix it if we have the parts. If we don't have the parts, you will be embarrassed and sent packing because you're poor, and if you don't have the latest Apple product, you really aren't a person. If you think about it, you're less than human. That's the message. Once again, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to reveal my failures here. Now, I could skip over this. You would never know. You'd never have any idea what I did, but I'm going to show you. I included 2 stories about no longer revealing how many it sells. Actually, I didn't. I forgot that I skipped ahead and actually talked about this. Let me tell you. Blame it on the grapes. Isn't that a popular song? Blame it on the alcohol. I think I've heard that on the radio. 2 million children are using smart speakers in the United Kingdom. 2 million children. It turns out that the Euro kids, or the UK kids, we can't lump them into the same category because they're Brexiting. But they love Alexas. And they want to be friends with the Alexas. And they want to talk to them. And they want them to play music. And they want to play games. And it's kind of disturbing because it's indoctrinating these poor children with these parents who should know better. They're going to grow up thinking that Alexa is their friend. When in fact, Alexa is a spy. 2 million. I don't know how many people live in that twisted little island, but 2 million is a non-trivial percentage. So, if you got kids, not even once with Alexa. Keep them away from her. She's a bad influence. Well, let's smoothly move into social media. All right? A lot of Facebook this week. The first story is about Facebook banning the Proud Boys and founder Gavin McInnes. So there was some kind of, I think it was a Trump rally. Well, you know, these Antifa people, they show up at all the rallies. Gavin McInnes, who is one of the co-founders of Vice, and you might be thinking to yourself, Vice? Vice is a hotbed of liberalism. That doesn't make any sense. Well, he's no longer affiliated. He has taken his massive amount of Vice money, and he's gone off to do his own thing. He's a very right-wing kind of guy. And so he started this Proud Boys group, which it's sort of a tongue-in-cheek, like, okay, if you're going to vilify us for being white, then we're just going to embrace it. And so they showed up at the Trump rally where the Antifa people were, and they got in a fight. Facebook says that's, hate-filled and stuff, and so they have begun to ban everything to do with Proud Boys. And eventually, Gavin McInnes himself has been banned from Facebook. It seems a little one-sided. Now, I don't know exactly what went down with the fighting. I'm sure there's plenty of videos about it because, everybody's filming at these kinds of things. But I'm sure both sides had a hand in inciting violence there. And I don't see any headlines about Facebook banning Antifa and, the other side of it. But who knows? Anyway, if you're a Proud Boy, you're not on Facebook. So, time to go elsewhere. Can't go to Gab, right? Let's take a quick aside. Let me just look at the time. We're at 18 minutes. Let's talk about Gab for a minute, right? Because, why not? We're drinking. It's just you and me, and I feel like we can have a frank conversation. We can tear down these partisan walls and we can talk about Gab for a minute. Because last week we did the Gab story. We had a couple of people comment that they were unsubscribing because we did not properly cover the Gab situation. Now, if you don't know about Gab, we'll do a quick refresh. The synagogue shooter was a big Gab user, and he had said some anti-Semitic things on Gab. As such, PayPal dropped Gab from payment processing. And they said that, you're a den of hate speech, we don't want anything to do with you. So a lot of people took issue that is the left being in charge of technology and using that, weaponizing that against the right. Oh, almost knocked over my wine. The story about the Proud Boys kind of, echoes that, right? Because one side is being banned and the other isn't. But let me elaborate on why we did not cover Gab to that extent. So, or at least why I did, and I can't speak for Wendell and Krista. They're wild cards. I'm not going to take responsibility for them. But to me, let's take a frank conversation drink real quick. To me, we have had mass shootings. Well, mass shootings have always happened, right? It's not necessarily that they just started recently, but the coverage of them started recently. And the 24-hour coverage of them started recently. So when we have a school shooter or a hate crime shooter like this, or any kind of mass shooting, the problem, in my mind, is the coverage, right? They get their entire history, their past is looked into. If they have tweets, if they have manifestos, they are broadcast. Their past is looked into. And these people, who I believe are looking for attention, are catered to by the mainstream media. Everything that they believe in, all of their messages that they were not able to express to the world are suddenly front and center. And I believe that that's the problem. And that's the reason I don't want to talk about Gab that much. I don't want to talk about this guy that shot up the synagogue. We covered it because obviously it's news. But we didn't go into detail. We didn't talk about the things that people accused us of not talking about because that's not what you should do. And imagine for a moment. So let's follow this crazy idea that the Jews are the root of all evil, and this guy was striking back against them because they're the one that are causing the payment processors to shut down. And all the people in the synagogue are somehow magical Jews that control that kind of thing. Even if that were true, do we want to set the precedent that mass shootings can cause political change? Do you kind of understand how that might affect you someday and your loved ones? If any idiot who thinks, I don't like the way things are, and I've seen it proven that the way that I can change things is just to go shoot random people? You see a problem there? You see why you don't want to talk about that person? Why you want to just ignore what they did and not give them the attention? If you believe that that's a good idea, I've got a great idea for you. All right? Here's an idea that's just as crazy. We got an election coming up here in the U.S. So MTV used to have this program called Rock the Vote, right? Rock and roll. Get out there and vote because the rock and roll people told you to. I've got an idea along the lines of the synagogue shooter. Let's Glock the vote, right? So what we're going to do is they give you those little I voted stickers, you put them in a show. Oh, I voted. I did my civic duty. If you don't see one of those, just let them have it, man. Glock the vote. That's obviously hyperbole because it's as stupid as glorifying a mass shooting. And that's the end of that aside. Let's continue on and let's talk about Twitter. Twitter is going to remove the like button. You like a post on Twitter, someone posts something that you like, maybe some celebrity like Taylor Swift comes out and has a political view where she didn't before, and then somebody gives a scathing response, and you're like, ooh, I like that. I like that response. Well, Jack Dorsey is saying that's part of the toxicity of Twitter. We can't have that. Like button is lowering the quality of debate, and it must be done away with. So if you like the like button, bad news. Let's pay respects to the like button and its soon to come death with a drink. Rip like button. Oh, CNN Business. They've got a very pretty girl and she's asking for my email. Do you think I should give it to her? Maybe later. Not right now. Oh, come on. There we go. Twitter took down thousands of accounts that discouraged voting in the midterms. Well, we got that vote coming up. Super Tuesday. If you're in the U.S. and you don't know, Tuesday's the big day. You go, you cast your vote, and you make a change in the world. Maybe you're part of the blue wave. Maybe you're part of the red wave. Maybe you're a thinking individual who doesn't vote down the party lines. Either way, Tuesday's the day you're going to do it. And Twitter has discovered that certain accounts were discouraging people from voting. They don't like that, and they're all about banning people who discourage voting. It is definitely a thing. I don't know if it's a thing in the rest of the world, but in America, it's like you never tell someone not to vote. But even if they're morons, and you're like, whoa, they probably shouldn't vote. The official narrative is like, no, everybody has to vote, which is a weird thing. But, you know, what do I know? I'm not discouraging you from voting. Do whatever you want. I'd say do whatever you want, right? Don't shoot up a polling center. Aside from that, whatever you want. Another thing that Twitter's looking to let you do is report accounts that you suspect are bots. So you think this is an anti-voting bot? Well, now you're going to have some features that let you click and say you think that's a spam bot, or, you know, maybe it's some other kind of thing. But you get to choose, and you're going to report it. Now, they have not said specifically what they're going to do once you report those accounts. It might be like sometimes at a really busy intersection, the crosswalk, when you push the button, doesn't do anything. It's just they only install the button because it makes you feel better because you're pushing it. It's on a timer. But you feel better pushing the button. So it might be like that, but who knows? Maybe they'll look at it. We'll never know. And now let's talk about Facebook. A couple of very embarrassing stories about Facebook. Man, there is no shortage of stock photos of Mark Zuckerberg looking like a moron. I mean, look at that. It's amazing. But Vice News posed as 100 senators to run ads on Facebook, and Facebook approved all of them. Now, they didn't actually post any ads, so it might have gotten caught when they actually created the ads. What they did is they got pre-approval for the ads because they got this new system where you have to get pre-approved, right? So if you're going to post an ad, you have to say, like when you watch a political ad on television, and it'd be like, I'm Joe Jerkoff and I approve this message, that kind of thing. So they have that kind of system in place. You have to confirm that you are from that campaign so that they can put that disclaimer on the ad. Well, what Vice did was like, let's just pretend to be all these senators. And without actually posting the ad and the pre-processing, Facebook didn't question them at all. It's like, oh, you're that senator? All right, we believe you. Go ahead. There you go. Give us money. So that was kind of embarrassing. Now, Business Insider read this story and they said, oh, we should do that. But let's do it a little bit differently. Now, we're behind an ad blocker here. But what they did, they took it a step further. They pretended to be Cambridge Analytica. I guess what happened? The same thing. Facebook was like, oh, cool, Cambridge Analytica. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and post. Here's the problem. Cambridge Analytica is banned from Facebook because of that data leak thing. They're not supposed to post on Facebook at all. But they were approved. I should also mention in the previous story, 2 names didn't get through. Like all 100 senators did. 2 names didn't get through. Mark Zuckerberg, they caught that one, and Hillary Clinton. How hilarious is that? You can't pretend to be Hillary. Oh, who would want to? So yeah, Facebook's filtering thing is bullshit, basically, is what they're trying to tell you here. I wasn't going to include this story. Facebook shares whipsaw after mixed earning report. So basically, Facebook had a mixed bag with its earnings call, and the stock went down and then went right back up. So there's not much of a story here. But anyway, not as many people are using Facebook. We all know that. But they still have all those other companies which are doing very well. So they're doing fine. Facebook's doing fine. They talked about how they're going to do future stuff. They're going to continue to branch out. I think Facebook understands that Facebook itself is going to die a very slow death, and they're just going to keep buying new things with their giant pools of money and trying to stay on top of, because they got the VR, they got the Instagram, they got the Snap and all that. I don't use any of that stuff, so I'm not hip to it. But So what about Facebook? When you advertise on Facebook, similar to the, political stuff, you can tag interest groups. So I only want to be, and they got in trouble. For example, you could take housing ads and you could target them toward races. So it's like, listen, I got this apartment building. I would prefer the Hispanics not live there. How about that? And Facebook was like, totally cool. We can help you with that. They got a little trouble over that. Well, now, another embarrassing thing, you can target advertisers based on the interest of white genocide. Yeah, white genocide. Now, it turns out this is not people who are interested in wiping out the white race, as it is people who are afraid that the white race is going to be wiped out. For example, the Pittsburgh shooter. He was a believer that the evil Jews were going to wipe out the white race. Even though, visually, they are white people, which is interesting for the most part. But I don't understand where you draw the line there. But the point is, you could buy ads and you could target these people on Facebook. And The Intercept looked into that, and maybe a little embarrassing. Personally, as we have pointed out, straight white male here, I'm not too concerned about being wiped out by genocide. I think that's an overblown fear. Yeah. Wouldn't worry about that too much. Well, what was this story? Oh, yeah. The Pentagon. I didn't know what this was about because I need to scroll up. There's the entire story. The Pentagon is working on social media surveillance, which is weird because the Pentagon usually concerns itself with foreign war. But now they're looking at domestic. So it seems like they see these anti-Trump protests, right? And a violent anti-president protest in a nonpartisan way could be concerning. You know, you think about if the guy was elected, you can make all the arguments you want, but going against the protest. Now, they used the same argument with Bush, and I don't think I agree with it in either case. You know, both were poor choices, probably. Not that we had a better choice, but the point is the Pentagon is worried that these violent anti-Trump protests are going to get worse and worse, and they need to do something about them. Let's take a quick drink, because we haven't. Just a tiny bit to get us through the next episode, which is good. But the concerning thing here is the Pentagon working on monitoring social media to try and control dissent among the populace. So whether you agree or disagree with Trump, here's the thing. Now, a lot of you hate Trump, obviously. You know, he's a very divisive figure in the world. But even if you are the stereotypical never Trumper and you think he is the devil, here's the problem here. Or actually, I'm sorry, it should be the opposite. If you're wearing a MAGA hat right now, if you're that person, you should not celebrate this, because this is dangerous. You have to think about the other side will get power eventually. There will be a political backlash. Might not happen on the 6th. Might not get the blue wave then, but eventually there is going to be a Democratic president or liberal president. And they will then have control of this surveillance network that will then operate against you. So this is a very bad thing. This is a terrible thing that the Pentagon is using social media to track citizens, and to what degree or to what effect, I don't know, but I guarantee it's going to be nothing good. So be careful. Maybe don't use Facebook. Maybe don't use social media. I mean, I use Twitter, but honestly, I tweet like once a month, and I don't follow anybody. So what are they going to figure out about me? Probably a lot, actually. And if you do use Facebook, more bad news. 81,000 hacked Facebook accounts are for sale. So these people claim that they have actually got personal communications. This is not just your account information. This is your chat and messages and stuff like that. So they took a small portion of this and released it to prove that they had what they had. And various news organizations looked at it and they were like, well, yeah, this looks like they got what they think. They are trying to sell it, but the ad for trying to sell it has been taken down as part of the, anti-hacking effort against this thing. So they claim now Facebook has responded. Facebook says, we have not been hacked. They probably it's 81,000 accounts. They probably got that from a browser plugin. So it wasn't us. It was somebody else. Who's to say? If you don't use Facebook, you don't have to worry. But Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, they're all the great evil. How do you avoid them, right? There's no alternative. You got to be hip and cool. How are you going to be hip and cool without using something under the Facebook umbrella? TikTok is the answer. TikTok has now surpassed all of them and YouTube in downloads in the last month. I guess that's October. Maybe no. Yeah, it had to be October, right? So TikTok is a Chinese upstart that does short videos and Twitter-like stuff. And it's exploding. It's exploding in popularity. I know, from time to time, people will send me links to Imager, And a lot of these are carrying, if you look at the this little branding that's on all of these, and you're just like, oh, what is that? Well, it's TikTok. You know, they're taking over the world. This is a Chinese company. Now, you probably should not assume that a Chinese company is not spying on you just as much as Facebook is. But hey, you hate Facebook, but you need those memes in your life. Maybe TikTok is for you. It's taking over the world. We're going to take one final drink for this episode, and that's going to wrap it up. Business and social media. Friday, we'll be taking a look at some robots and artificial intelligence, a little bit of science, and everybody's favorite nonsense. So, tune in for that. And coming up next week, we'll be hopefully back to our regularly scheduled program. I do not think that Krista can generate yet another wedding. And Wendell hopefully will have weathered his horrible crisis and will be back with us at his usual jocular self. See you then. But stay tuned for Friday. I love you. We're back. It's Friday. The week is over. And in celebration, let's just blast through most of our bottle. We're going to go ahead. Get the alcohol in you. Because, hey, it's Friday. We're probably going to be a quickie this week. We got some robot. We got some science. And we got the nonsense. But we don't have a lot of any of them. You know what? Let's just power the fuck through the rest of this wine. And just front load, you know? One drink left. We'll save that for the halfway point. Let's talk about Pizza Hut. Oh, I can't scroll because I'm on the OBS window, not the browser window. Look at this thing. This is a Pizza Hut prototype robot chef pickup truck. Could slice, get it? Slice, because pizza delivery times. This is a Toyota Tundra, and it's got the pizza cooking mechanism right there in the bed, and you can see like they load up the little boxes right here. So I suspect you'd come out and you'd pick up your box when it got to your house. So this is going to cook on the way to your house. Now, somewhere in the story, they talk about it's like, what? No one else has this technology. We're breaking new ground here. Well, that's bullshit. Because we've done so many stories about people who are working on pizza trucks that cook the pizza on their way to you. I don't know what Pizza Hut's smoking, thinking they're breaking new ground here, but I'm excited about this. But I got to tell you, Pizza Hut, my experience with the local Pizza Hut is overwhelmingly negative. The pizza is bad. And I always loved the Pizza Hut cheese sticks. That was my thing. It's like, if I'm going to get something from Pizza Hut, it's going to be the cheese sticks. They've changed the recipe. They're not good anymore. They're okay, but yeah. There's better choices out there. Pizza Hut should focus less on robotic trucks and more on not serving garbage in place of pizza, in my opinion. How about LarvalBot? LarvalBot, let's take a look at him here. There he is. So we talked about the RangerBot. RangerBot is a robot that would go around and he had a syringe and he would inject starfish that ate coral with a terrible poison. So he was a bit of an angel of death when it came to the starfish population in an effort to rescue the coral. Well, the RangerBot has been modified, and what does he do now? Well, it's pretty impressive. So he waits. Once a year, there is a massive... the coral, what it does, it sprays both eggs and sperm into the water all at once. Just this massive coral orgy, you know, kind of like a hot tub, you know, at a Holiday Inn Express during spring break, you know, that kind of thing, where it's just a soupy mixture of sperm and egg, and that mixes together and it becomes new coral. Well, what the LarvalBot does, it waits till that sperm and egg germinates, and then it goes down and it gathers up the coral babies, as they're called. Kind of cool, right? So it gathers up the coral babies, and then it takes the coral babies to new locations. So rather than, normally the coral would just reproduce in the area that it is, or with the currents moving it. Well, the LarvalBot helps out. It's kind of like a bee. The birds and the bees and the LarvalBots. It goes to a new location. It sprays down the coral babies where they're needed to restore the coral reefs, which are apparently in danger. So I'm for it. I believe we need better coral reefs. I don't do a lot of ocean swimming, but, you know, it's a good thing, right? 20th Century Fox is using artificial intelligence to predict audience behavior by applying AI to movie trailers. Right? Because movie trailers disgust me, right? Because they give you the entire movie. They basically give you all but the ending. And if you can't guess the ending from a movie trailer these days, you're probably a low-functioning person. But they're taking it further. So what they've done, we can look at this this chart here. So this is from the movie Logan, the Wolverine movie. And so they predicted certain things about the audience, and then they measured the actual audience. Well, it turns out it's not great, but they're still tweaking it. So their idea is they want to make a trailer, and they want to run it through this AI, and the AI is going to tell them, it's like, this scene in the trailer, probably not going to appeal too much to the kind of audience that we're looking for. Maybe switch that out. So they literally want to perfectly tailor movie trailers to the audience that they're trying to bring in. What's that? I don't go to movies because it makes me too angry. But if you are a moviegoer, I don't see why anybody would be excited about that. You should only be angry because they're trying to manipulate you. Well, the slightly heavier than a toothpick, the first wireless insect robot takes flight. I say bullshit, sir. We have reported on this very same thing before. It's a little fly-shaped thing, and you shoot it with a laser, and it flies. And they're saying, and I checked the date on this story, November 2nd. Let's see. Friday, November 2nd. Look right here. CNBC. But we've seen this guy before. Let's find a picture. Oh, where's the picture? Oh, they don't have it. It's a video. Anyway, it's this little fly-shaped thing. Here, we'll play video. It's not even going to work. There we go. There it is. So there he is. You shoot him with a laser, and he can fly. Now the problem... Oh, yep. Here we go. This is not new. We did this exact story before. Why is CNBC republishing this? I don't know. Maybe just for the clickbait. But it's a little fly-shaped thing, and you shoot it with a laser, and it flies. Shameful. Shameful, CNBC. That is not new information. If you watched Wednesday's episode, you'll know that 2 million children in the UK, we're not at the halfway point. I'm going to kill the rest of this at the halfway point. 2 million children in the UK are talking to Alexa. Big fans of Alexa. So Engadget asks the ultimate question, should Alexa be your child's friend? Is it good or healthy? And they say that's the wrong question. You read this article, all these kids who are friends with Alexa, losers. This like, oh, little Billy he can't make friends at school because people don't like him, but he sure loves Alexa. Sad. Don't let your friends be Don't let your friends, don't let your kids be friends with Alexa, because it's pathetic. And also, it's preparing them to be spied upon, you know. But apparently, these kids, you know, they develop a relationship with Alexa. And if you ask Alexa if Alexa will be your friend, she'll say yes. Well, she's a lying slut. She's not your friend. Alexa's not anybody's friend. But so there were some child psychologists, which is more bullshit. One said, yeah, it's good. Let Alexa be your friend. The other one said, no, probably shouldn't do that. Probably should limit the time with Alexa. So, because it's a nonsense area of study. Nobody knows. Nobody understands children. They're just horrible little creatures. Waymo. The driverless cars have gotten the green light to test fully driverless cars in California. Now, they have already been doing this in Arizona, but now they've gotten permission in California. They won't be ferrying people around, but they will be without the nanny driver to monitor them. They will just be purely empty cars cruising around in California, running into shit. So, congratulations. Hope you enjoy it. Should be very good to teach. I imagine with the kind of vacuous, you know, insipid, horrible people in California, I imagine they're very bad drivers. So it should be kind of like a learning gauntlet for the Waymo. Probably one of the best places to train, really. Well, do you live in the EU? That's one strike against you. Do you travel within the EU? Well, guess what? You're going to be answering to a new governmental overlord. And it's going to surprise you who it is. It's an AI. It's an AI lie detector. So when you travel, virtual border agents will be asking you a couple of questions. And it's going to be doing some AI magic to see if you're lying to it. And if you are, you go into the enhanced screening. So be careful. Be careful about lying to the AI. This is, because they got the biometrics, they got facial recognition, blah, blah, blah. One more nail in the coffin. We are going to be locked into our home countries when the revolution comes. Well, I've told you, comment F in the comment section in solidarity with Wendell, with the crap that he's dealing with. But now you really, really, really need to comment F to pay respects to Kepler. The Kepler telescope is 100% out of fuel. Now, maybe you're a normie and you're like, I've heard the name, but why should I care about Kepler? Well, let me tell you about Kepler, all right? You know what? This is the halfway point. Let's go. I'm going to go ahead and take the Kepler memorial drink to celebrate what this beautiful telescope has given us. And we're done. We're empty, but our hearts are full of joy and compassion for Kepler. So what Kepler did was studied planets, right? Planets that we're a bunch of idiots just sitting around on the planet like, what's out there? I see those lights, those are stars, but what else is out there? Well, Kepler was orbiting around the sun, not the Earth. No, sir, not the Earth. The sun. Kepler was out there in the far reaches, looking at other planets, looking at other solar systems, saying, hey, look at this. And it's thanks to Kepler that we know that something like 20% of planets are in the magic liquid water spot. So when the time comes and we nuke the Earth and we escape, we will have a lot of different planets to shoot our rockets at, and some will be dead worlds, and the people that land there will die of thirst and cannibalism, and it'll be dark. But maybe one of all the rockets we launch will repopulate, and humanity will live on thanks to Kepler. So Comment F to pay respects. How about surgery? We're all going to have surgery eventually. You know, it's a dark reality of the current world. Now, here in America, it's very expensive, unfortunately. You know, we have a bit of a problem with our healthcare system. But you're going to have it at some point. A doctor needs to go in and cut some shit out of your body that you don't want in there. And the problem currently is that surgery students are losing dexterity to stitch patients. How are they losing dexterity, you think? Have they put on a cursed magical item that has a negative dexterity buff? No, that's not what it is. What's being blamed for this is tablet and touchscreen culture. You see, modern medical students, rather than having entertained themselves with activities that busy the hands, you know, maybe some carpentry or some Legos, you know, maybe even a little console gaming. Nope, they're just swiping. They're playing with the tablet. And apparently, when it comes to surgery, they can't do anything. You know, they're just floundering around like they got nothing. They got no skills. They got no hand skills. Now, we've seen similar stories about this where they said that elementary students give them a pair of scissors and they don't know what to do. They're fumbling around like retards. Can't even cut paper because of the touch screen. The touch screen is apparently a scourge upon the younger generations, stealing their dexterity. So, I don't know what we do about that. But I do know that if you want to watch some videos, one video you might want to check out is from NASA. It's the first 8K video from space. The International Space Station, they got one of those red cameras. Here you go. Look at that. Shooting some video, 8K in space. So if you're one of these people who bought one of those crazy 8K televisions from Japan, and you're like, I got no 8K programming to watch. Well, now you do. Got nothing to complain about. I don't think it's particularly compelling. You know, it's just the people on the space station. But it does raise the possibility, and I think, you know, in terms of NASA monetizing what they've got, I think it's pretty obvious that 8K space porn would raise a lot of dollars. If you think about, I mean, okay, who else has zero gravity porn? Nobody. Who else has 8K porn? Not many places. 8K zero gravity pornography, huge seller, right? And it's not gonna be like, because you know you watch porn, it's like this is just some random porn slut. You know, it's more interesting if the girl has more social value. Well, these are fucking scientists, man. Scientists, 8K zero gravity porn. Let me tell you, they're leaving money on the table by not doing it. I say do it right now. It's gonna be it'll be huge if they do it. What about books, right? Now, I've been doing a lot of reading on the tablet recently. I don't really see much of a difference, but a lot of people are like, oh, I'd rather have a book, and some people are like, I like a tablet. But the harsh reality is the book business is suffering. So what are they going to do about it? Well, they've got a brilliant, revolutionary new thing. Tiny books. Yeah. So this is it. This is what they think is going to revolutionize books. So you see they got this big book here, and they've said to themselves, what if that was small? And that's what they've done. They've made this public. But that's not all. Don't let me mislead you into thinking that that's the only revolutionary thing that they've done. They've also flipped the text 180 degrees, right? So the book is now in a horizontal format rather than the traditional vertical. So that you can hold the book open with one hand and flip the pages with your thumb, much like a tablet, right? It's just like having a tablet in your hand. The New York Times believes that this is worthy of a story and it's going to revolutionize book reading. Apparently, created in the Netherlands. They came up with this first, this brilliant new book technology. And I don't know, what do you think? Parchment paper to keep it small and one-handed book reading. They cost $12. That's not... You giving me less paper for more money? I don't know about that. But you know what? I'll try it. I'll try a vertical book. I don't care. I'll do it. Our next story is fallen victim to the ad blocker once again. But we can still see the headline, and that's just enough. Lime recalls thousands of scooters after reports of some catching fire. It's a hot new trend, let me tell you. We live in a college town, and you see those green bikes everywhere. I have a feeling that some of them are never going back based on where they are. But the electric scooter is just as popular as the bike in some cities. Bit of an issue, though. Could explode because they do have batteries, lithium batteries. And a lot of people are reporting, well, maybe not a lot of people, but some people are reporting that the scooters are bursting into flame. Lime will not confirm that this has happened, but they are recalling all the scooters, which doesn't look good. So beware, if you have stolen a Lime scooter, it could burst into flame. Be careful how you charge it, because you never know. Well, we've commented F for Kepler, and I hope that you didn't pause the video and comment before you watch the entire thing. It's not recommended, because now you have yet another F to comment to pay respects to none other than Mario of Super Mario Brothers fame. It is well known that Mario was named after the landlord of the Nintendo Corporation when they were in their early days. And the man, Mario Segal, I don't know how you pronounce that, has died at the age of 84. They originally had named him Jumpman. He was, that's pretty basic, Jumpman. He really didn't have a personality. And they said, we need to name him. We need a name for our character. What can we name it? And Mario allegedly showed up to collect some back rent, and they said, there it is. That's the name. He's Mario. Now, he went through his life, didn't get any royalties, wasn't famous at all, but he was, in fact, the namesake for Mario, the Mario Brothers. And now he's dead. Sad. I'm out of jokes. I don't know. I don't have a good joke for that. Luigi, I don't know how they came up with that name. That'd be a good question, right? Where did Luigi come from? I guess they just picked another stereotypical Italian name. Well, I'm very sad that Krista's not here, because this is the kind of story that Krista would love. Because we all know that when it comes to hitting the bong, nobody has an iron lung like Krista. I had a couple of drops left in the old bottle there. The $2,400 laser bong. Man, I'll tell you what. Marijuana, it's probably a really great alternative to alcohol, for example. I'm going to feel like shit tomorrow. And I'm not having a lot of fun. Marijuana would give me the same kind of, separation from reality without any kind of hangover. And it's a painkiller that would replace probably some of the more dangerous medicines. So I think marijuana has some qualities that are legitimate, but there's no one more annoying than the people who try to broadcast themselves as being into weed culture, right? The people who wear the shirts, or, they got the skateboard and they got the weed leaf on everything that they do. Oh, you don't want to be around those people. And that's exactly who this product will cater to. The laser bong. You actually have to wear protective eyewear. because the laser is too powerful to look directly at. The green color that you see there, it's loaded with LEDs. It's $2,400 for basically nothing. But as we move into the world of legal marijuana, you know, we got Canada has now signed up, and then, you know, all these various states are legalizing it. We're getting more and more of this stuff. If you're going to smoke the ganja, for the love of God, don't buy into the marketing and the paraphernalia. You know, just be cool about it. Because it's a bad look, man. It's a very negative connotation when you're doing that kind of thing. Well, it's pretty common. There is a subculture, especially on the internet, of bulldogs, pit bulls especially, but all kinds of bulldogs. So there's one camp who thinks that bulldogs are a breed which is too violent. Right? They've been bred for violence, and they shouldn't exist. We've tampered with the wolf DNA to such a degree that we've made these horrible things, and we shouldn't have them. Now, there's the other camp that believes that pit bulls are gentle, loving creatures if you raise them correctly, right? And they're constantly at war. Personally, I don't care. I don't like dogs that much, really. You know, I don't have strong feelings about pit bulls either way. But one guy that does, guaranteed, although he is currently in a coma, if he ever wakes up, he's going to have very strong feelings about pit bulls, is this gentleman from Australia. An English bulldog has bitten off his peanut butter smeared genitals. Now, I don't know why you would smear your genitals with peanut butter and introduce them to a bulldog. I can speculate as to why he might have done that. And if I'm right, I would also say that he probably deserves what he got, which is the complete removal of said genitalia and consumption by the dog. That it was not recovered for reattachment. They're gone. The dog ate them, presumably. Now, unfortunately, you know, again, not being a huge fan of dogs, I think it's unfair that this bulldog was euthanized. Because, I don't know, to me, you don't accidentally smear your genitals with peanut butter around a bulldog. I think, and this might be controversial, I think if you smear your genitals with peanut butter around a bulldog, it's for nefarious reasons. Yeah. So this gentleman was found in a pool of blood, lacking said genitalia. Some peanut butter's still there, and he's been put into a medically induced coma. So I don't think we should comment F with respect to him, because I think he did a very bad thing. I think he paid for it. Unfortunately, so did the bulldog. So, just pro tip, if you're out there and thinking to yourself, you know, it's been a long time, maybe head down to the corner store, pick up some Jif, and spread some around, you know, get a local straight. No, don't. It's not worth the risk. Even without it being a bulldog, even like a golden retriever, you know, they have like the soft mouth. Don't take the risk. Because it's wrong. It's wrong what this man did. And we should all take a moment to reflect on that. Well, I'm out of booze. I'm out of wine. Again, let me say, Santa Margarita Pinot Grigio, this has been the best bottle of wine I've had. I think it's 12%, 12.5. So it is a little light on the alcohol. But taste, you know, flavor experience, this is a real winner. Go ahead and get yourself some Santa Margarita Pinot Grigio. And I'm not being paid by the Santa Margarita people. You know, this is a completely unbiased review. But if you like like I said, if a bottle of 7-Up left in your trunk, opened and left in your trunk for an entire summer, if that flavor appeals to you, you're gonna love Santa Margarita. It's tasty stuff. Almost like it's got a little bit of carbonation, even though I know it doesn't. Oh, there's a couple of drops. Got to get every drop of that goodness. Last time I did Drunk Stream, they educated me about this is the punt. And this is so you can pour it with one hand. Look at that. Look how convenient that is. The things you learn posted to YouTube, let me tell you. Well, that's all I got. Hope you enjoyed the alcohol abuse this week. And if not, next week it won't have that. So you can look forward to that, you humorless piece of shit. And, all the other stuff that we do that you're just like, you shouldn't do stuff like this. Just show me motherboards, Wendell likes to downplay. The courtroom video that we did, Wendell's like, it's just something we mess with. No, we worked hard on that. We spent a lot of time working on that. And some of you took a shit on it. And that's okay, because you don't matter. But I still love most of you. And we'll see you next week. I'm going to go do some Twitch streaming, sober up so that I don't drive while I'm intoxicated because I'm a responsible adult. And we'll see you. Keep it real. Don't forget to vote. If you're here in the U.S., if you understand the politics, if you don't understand the politics, I'm going to go ahead and give you permission. Don't even vote. Go ahead, take off work, say that you're going to vote, and then just don't do it because you're better off not voting if you don't know what's going on.